Hey everyone, and welcome right back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a really intriguing 2021 text by Feng titled How to Transform from Human to Super Celestial Being. Now, whether you're approaching this as deep spiritual philosophy or just a seriously fascinating thought experiment, the way Feng structures his argument is incredibly precise. He's outlining nothing short of human spiritual metamorphosis, and the wild part is, the way he explains this massive, profound transition is by grounding it in a biological process that happens right in our own backyards, something completely familiar yet totally alien when you really think about it.
To actually wrap our heads around this spiritual leap, we have to start with a really simple biological question. What actually happens inside a chrysalis? I mean, we all learn the basics in elementary school, right? A caterpillar goes in, a butterfly comes out. We know the start and we know the finish. But what is actually going on in the middle of all that? If you were to somehow crack open a chrysalis halfway through the whole metamorphosis, what would you see? A weird half caterpillar, half butterfly with little tiny wings?
Well, Feng makes this direct, honestly kind of shocking observation. He says, I once opened one and found it was full of white paste, with nothing else visible. It's visceral, right? But he points out that unlike a bird's egg, where you have this clearly defined structure with the egg white, the yolk, and a growing embryo, the chrysalis is basically just biological soup. The caterpillar breaks down completely into this formless white paste before it can rebuild into a butterfly. There's a total, absolute dissolution of the old structure. Keep that white paste idea in the back of your mind because it is literally the crucial metaphor for this entire text.
So what is the end goal here? What exactly do we mean by a super celestial being? According to the text, it's a higher state of life that humans can transform into. But to get there, it requires a complete change of our non-material structure. Just like the caterpillar's physical body had to literally melt down into paste to become something brand new, our non-material structure, our spiritual, conscious architecture, has to undergo a total metamorphosis to reach this higher state. We aren't just talking about becoming a slightly better human. We're talking about becoming an entirely different category of life.
Think about the pure biological reality of this for a second. You've got a caterpillar crawling around in what is essentially a two-dimensional world, totally restricted to flat surfaces. Then it enters the chrysalis, dissolves, and emerges as a butterfly, suddenly flying around in a four-dimensional world. It's a massive, incomprehensible leap in how it interacts with reality. And Feng is saying this exact leap applies to the human journey. We start out as humans, bound by our current dimensions, but through this non-material metamorphosis, we can emerge as super celestial beings and transcend those limits, just like the butterfly. He's taking a proven biological miracle and mapping it directly onto our spiritual potential.
And this brings us to what I think is his core argument for why this is even possible. He writes, incredibly, the white paste transforms into a beautiful butterfly. This evolution of life is unbelievable, but such unbelievable things have happened. He's leaning hard on the sheer absurdity of nature here to back up his claims. Seriously, think about it. If you had never ever seen a butterfly and someone pointed at a puddle of white insect paste and told you, hey, that paste is going to grow wings and fly, you would think they were crazy. But it's an objective reality. His point is, if the physical universe is capable of making leaps that unbelievable, why on earth should we assume the non-material universe is any different?
So when we sit here with all our natural human skepticism and ask, can we really become super celestial beings? Feng suggests we might as well go ask a caterpillar, can you become a butterfly? From the caterpillar's perspective, just happily munching on a leaf, the idea of flying through the air on painted wings makes absolutely zero sense. But its lack of comprehension doesn't stop its biological destiny. In this whole framework, we are the caterpillars, folks. We don't need to totally wrap our heads around higher dimensions to have the underlying potential to actually reach them.
Okay, so if we buy into the premise that this is possible, how does the universe actually pull it off? Here is where the text introduces a really cool modern metaphor. He describes what basically amounts to an operating system of metamorphosis. The text argues that the fundamental reason that white paste knows exactly how to become a butterfly is because super celestial beings have set up a specific program for life's metamorphosis. Everything in nature operates according to these underlying programs. We aren't just random biological accidents, we're essentially hardware running highly specific pre-installed software.
And as humans, we have a unique set of pre-installed options. His logic here is incredibly strict and honestly a little funny in how blunt it is. He flat out states that if we operate according to the program of a horse, we become a horse. Run the dog program, you're a dog. Run the pig program, boom, you're a pig. Decide to run the devil program and, well, you guessed it, you become a devil. But, and here's the absolute kicker, if we actively choose to operate according to the program of a super-celestial being, we become one. We are the ultimate adaptable hardware.
Let's break this logic down step by step so we have a super clear roadmap. Step 1 is just basic awareness. You have to acknowledge that your body and mind actually contain these pre-installed programs. You aren't fixed in stone. Step 2 is pure agency. Out of all the options on the table, you have to consciously choose to run the super celestial being program. And step 3 is the actual process, undergoing that complete non-material metamorphosis. You have to be willing to let your old non-material structure dissolve into that white paste so it can be rebuilt. But obviously that brings us to the million-dollar question, which is really the climax of this whole text. How do we actually do that? How do humans operate according to this program? Where's the keyboard? How do you actually click start on this thing? It's all well and good to say run the software, but if we don't know the execution command, all this incredible potential just sits totally dormant on our hard drives.
Well, Zhu Feng gives us this really elegant answer. To operate the program, you have to live in alignment with the consciousness of super-celestial beings. That's your execution command. The software isn't triggered by some physical button or a magic ritual, it's triggered entirely by consciousness. To become the butterfly, you literally have to start aligning your mindset, your awareness, and your everyday consciousness with the frequency of that higher state. By thinking and operating as if you're already living in that higher dimension, you activate the internal code that physically and spiritually transforms you into it.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy, provocative question to wrap up this explainer. What program is your consciousness running today? If this text is right, and our daily consciousness is the literal code determining our evolutionary future, then every single thought, habit, and reaction is feeding one of those programs. Are you running the caterpillar program, a lesser animal, or are you actively aligning your mind to trigger that massive dimensional leap? It's a pretty wild lens to view your daily routine through. Thanks for exploring this one with me, and definitely keep an eye on your own internal operating system today. I'll catch you on the next explainer.